Hey, what up guys, it's Kid up here. And so recently I noticed that one of my videos that I talked about how to design a web application from scratch, and that video actually has gotten quite a lot of views lately. And I know that a lot of you guys that watched that video are actually founders yourself, and you're thinking about building your own SaaS product and coming up with the application, and you wonder, how to design it, how much it's gonna cost, and what is the best way to put together a team to do this, and all this stuff, right? So this video, I'm actually going to talk about all of those, and I heard some questions about that as well. So this video is going to be focusing on that. And so if you haven't watched any of my videos, I talk about my background, my startup, and all that. So a little bit quick background about myself. And so like I built a platform myself called Clascity. So I'm the designer for the project, and I am also a product designer. So I built that entire thing myself, designed the entire thing myself, and then I put together a team that is offshore and helped me to build this platform. So I have some experience, building startups, and also besides that, as a product designer, right? I help a lot of startups to build their product as well. So I think through my entire career, I have helped almost like over 100 startups to build their product. So I'll say I'm pretty knowledgeable in this area, and like if you're wondering all these questions, then I think I can share my knowledge with you guys. So before I talk about how much is it actually going to cost for you to build this whole thing, just want to say that like it's definitely easiest the hardest but the best way is to spend no money at all to build this. So if you can put together a team to help you to build your product, build your vision, that would be the best. So if you can find co-founders that are technical, so like they can write code, and then you can also find a designer to help you to design the entire platform, and then you be the COO to run this whole thing, then I think that is definitely the best scenario. So you don't have to spend any money at all. You just have to split the equity with the team, right? So that is the best case, and that is the most secure case. But the truth is, it's pretty hard to find people that is willing to quit their job at Google and help you to build your visions, right? And for just equity alone. So this is just going to be very, very hard. And so that's the thing, right? So if you don't have any of these people and you still want to build your visions, then you have to find designers and engineers, right? Like find a providers that is willing to help you build this. So there are a couple of ways that you can find it from people from different places, and I'm gonna list out in this video here. So if you look at this lines, basically you can find people offshore, like you outsource the project to, let's say, countries like India, countries like India, countries like Vietnam, countries like Indonesia, and like places like that, right? Or Eastern Europe. That is going to be a lot cheaper, but it has a certain risk. And you can also find more locally like designer that are in the States, in Canada, in like somewhere like more local to you, right? So this people, they're gonna charge a bit more than offshore team or something like that. So that is another option. You can also find local studio, a little bit smaller company, 10 to 20 people company. And you can also find big company like 100 plus, right? And all of these companies will charge differently, and of course, like it goes down from least expensive to most expensive, right? So now like these founders, this company, then how much does it actually cost, right? So when you're thinking about that, then it's hard to know because if your platform is bigger, then it definitely costs you a lot more. So to kind of analyze, to kind of guess the biggest or the size of the platform or the project that you're working on, I'll just break them into pages. So for example, like your product can click through the entire things, and how many pages can you click through is kind of like the size of your products, right? So I would say that for most of the startup, then that is going to be around like 5 to 20 pages from the start, especially if you're building MVP. So like if you're larger than 20 pages, like your MVP is going to be pretty big. So I wouldn't suggest to build your MVP to be too big, because like it's going to get harder to manage, and you want to launch your product as soon as possible, right? So for example, like your MVP is about like 5 to 20 pages, and how much it's going to cost for these providers, right? So if you look at this line here, basically I think like if you outsource your entire project outside with 5 to 20 pages, it's going to cost you about like $8,000. And then if you want to hire local designer engineer that are contractors, freelancers, it's going to cost about like $30,000 for all done locally, senior role. And then if you want to hire a studio is going to be a little bit more expensive, because studio is going to charge you cost for office fees and like running management fees and like strategies and all that kind of things that you may not need but they're gonna cost a bit more, so around like 60,000. Then if you're coming to a big studio like MetaLab, Focus Lab, UNL, and all of those big guys, right? 100+ employees, and those are gonna charge you like 150 or even more, or they won't even take your project because that's too small. So that is kind of like the rough estimate. And now like how much does it would cost you based on each providers. Then what is the best way to go about in doing this, right? So what is the best way? Who should you actually hire? And so based on my humble opinion and building my own startup and seeing a lot of people building their startups, I think you kind of need a combination of both outsource and doing it locally. You can do it entirely locally, but I think like the best combination is that, and that can give you the best bang for your buck and can save you a lot of money and can ensure that the product is is a quality product, not gonna easily break and all that, right? So I think you need 3 people to be on your team. So the first person is a designer, like 2 local people, two people that is more like local or in your same time zone and speak the same language. So you need a designer, senior designer that is local, another senior designer that is another senior engineer that is also local, and then you can hire another senior engineer that is offshore. You can hire them in like India, Vietnam, and Indonesia. But personally, I would highly recommend people hiring people from Vietnam, just because I hired a bunch of engineers in Vietnam. I actually hired a bunch of engineers from like around the world, but like so far, out of like 20 or ish engineer that I hired, I think Vietnam has the highest quality of work. So that's just my experience. So you need 3 people, right? So 2 locals people, 1 is outsourced. So what is the game plan, right? How can you bring this project to life? So I think if you're not technical yourself, then the first designer the first person you're going to be working with the most is definitely going to be the designers, right? So this designer is going to help you to translate all of your visions, idea about the platform into a functional prototype, and to help you to figure out the entire design system and how everything linked together, right? So this product designer, UI and UX designer, is going to help you to do all that. So you're going to be working with this designer almost like every single day to just bring your ideas and like tell him whatever you would like to build, right? So that's why this is very hard for you to work with a designer that is not local to you and in different time zone, doesn't speak the same language, because it's just so hard to get that idea right. And so that's why I would highly recommend that you find a local designer that is more senior, can understand the whole thing. And by the way, you want to hire all senior. Don't hire junior for this project, because junior designer are just so hard to manage, and especially if you don't have experience, you just don't know how the whole thing works. So senior people that know what they're doing. And then once when you have the design plan, when you have the prototype, when you have everything kind of ready to go, clicking prototype on your vision, then you can pass it on to your engineer that is more local to you. Then this engineer is going to help you to figure out like what is the best way to build this product. Then have him to recommend the tech stack, right? If that is going to be built on React, going to be built on Ruby, going to be built on Notes and whatever kind of software like that, right? Then you have this person to figure out the whole plan for you. And this person doesn't have to be full-time, it can be part-time, and ideally if he has a job at Google or if he has a job at other startup and he's willing to take on it for part-time with you, that is the best case. Because when an engineer that is full-time employed, then he wouldn't charge you so much money to help you out, right? Like it's just a side gig for him. So you may be able to cut down some costs in there as well. So you want this person to be kind of happy to manage your project. And then the last role that you're gonna hire is this like engineer in Vietnam, and he or she is gonna help you to build in most of the hours, right? He's gonna do the hardcore stuff for the platform, right? Building out the entire thing based on the plan that is set out by this engineer that is local. And so with a team like that, right? So every single time when this engineer from Vietnam finish something, then he will do a poll code review. So like pull request, and then this local engineer is gonna review the whole thing. So I think with a plan like this, then you can make sure that your design vision is there, and then your coding quality is good, because 2 engineers code review each other. I think that is the best way to do this. And so if you get a plan like this, right, instead of spending 30 grand to just hire people locally, then I think you can cut down the cost to around like 20 grand or even like 15 grand if your project is not that big. So I think this plan can really like just ensure that your project has a higher chance of success if you follow that. And so that's pretty much it for this video and the plan and all that. And if you're building your startup, if you're using this plan, then let me know. Or if you don't think it works, also let me know in the comment section down below. And if you like the content, then definitely give me a thumbs up and follow me on social media, links down below as well. Subscribe to my channel too, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Cheers.